Hey guys, welcome to Lightning Talks. This is a session of short talks presented by our region's entrepreneurs, innovators, and visionaries. And these talks are some of the few ideas that will shape the future. We looked for change makers with ideas, inventions, and stories that will inspire us, shape our future, and open opportunities for a better, healthier, more fair, and prosperous world. After the talks, please join us in the lounge area to talk with our Lightning Talkers and have an inspired discussion about the concepts shared today. You'll find the lounge section in the strip of icons at the main screen of the event platform. Just click on that after our session. But let's get started. So speaking from Theater Baton Rouge, first up is Adrian Owen-Jones, talking about how we can develop better millennial generation leaders through harnessing the power of video games. Adrian defies traditional intros. Not only is Adrian a certified fundraising executive and an assistant vice president for advancement services at the LSU Foundation, she is also a world-ranked player on the bleeding edge of the game World of Warcraft. Wow. Adrian has told us that gaming has taught her the critical technical and leadership skills that she uses to this day. Adrian has a unique lens on this topic. Please help me welcome Adrian.
Hi, my name is Adrian Owen, and I'm the Assistant Vice President for Advancement Services at the LSU Foundation. I came on board at a time when we were preparing to launch a $1.5 billion campaign. If we were going to raise that kind of money on behalf of LSU, we had to change the way we did business. As a result, I've had the opportunity to take part in technology initiatives that have transformed our work. I have done data analysis and synthesis that has been used to inform strategic decisions at the highest levels of the university. And I now lead a team of analysts and developers that are far more talented and smarter than I am. When people hear about what I do, they often ask how I got into this work. And I'm finally getting more comfortable being honest. I learned it all playing World of Warcraft. Now, I'm used to the reactions that I'm getting right now. When I share this, it's often met with skepticism, curiosity, and amusement, but it's true. And if you take away anything from my talk, it's this. I want you to consider the idea that collaborative video games like World of Warcraft have the potential to develop transformational leadership skills. They can make our workplaces more engaging and deliver strategic, dynamic, profitable results. So I could talk about World of Warcraft all day, but I'm going to share just 3 things that I learned that contributed to my personal and professional success. Number 1, I learned how to leverage data to enhance and improve my personal performance. See, I didn't start out wanting to be a data scientist. In fact, I was always pretty bad at math. But what World of Warcraft taught me is that leveraging data and visualizing it in particular can improve your personal performance and that of your team. In fact, that's the expectation. The very first data model I ever developed was to determine if a piece of gear I had acquired was an upgrade or not. And that might sound like a small nuanced thing, but winning happened on the margins at the highest levels. This is an example of a dashboard that we would use. Every move that you make in the game, every spell you cast, every bit of damage that's taken is logged and recorded. Then those logs are visualized and they're poured over each night by leaders. It's a very meritocratic environment where those that thrive are the ones who are comfortable with that level of scrutiny. I could talk about how to build a positive data-driven culture all day, but I'll leave you with this. The organizations that figure out how to get this right are the ones that thrive and survive. Next thing I learned how to do was to recruit and develop talent. This one surprises people, but as a leader of a raid leader of a high-end guild in WoW, I had to recruit and retain players on a globally competitive market. Bringing a new recruit onto the roster was a strategic risk in terms of time and resources. This is an example of one of the raids that we would be in. You can see it's highly complex and took deep coordination. Culture fit was a big factor because we needed to make sure we could bring on people that could perform under that kind of pressure. The toughest interviews I've ever had happened in World of Warcraft, and I'll tell you why. One, those logs we talked about earlier, you had to present those with your application, and they were reviewed before your full application would even be considered. If you were lucky enough to be granted an interview, you had to show deep expertise in your class and your character. Each decision that you made had to be justified with sound logic. And if you were lucky enough to get through the interview process, an offer was extended upon a trial basis to see if you could really back up what you said. There was also a deep analysis for culture fit because top-end guilds understood that one bad apple could ruin a hard night of work or worse, and high-end guilds are guarded tightly. I've been able to apply many of these tactics as I've grown and developed my own teams, and the results have been high-performing and high-tenure hires. Finally, to succeed in World of Warcraft, you have to be comfortable doing complex and broad research, synthesizing all of that information and applying it to develop a strategy. Much of the data that I discussed earlier is openly available, and that's another thing that I love about World of Warcraft. It's an open source environment. Players understand that access to information elevates the state of play for everyone. While World of Warcraft is a persistent world, meaning you can log in at any time and see players day or night, it's not a static one. The rules can change overnight. A game can be patched, and the strategy that you used last night to defeat a powerful foe no longer works. So you have to be able to conduct research across tens of thousands of sources to sort out the signal from the noise. This has served me well professionally. I'm able to stay abreast of trends. I'm comfortable assessing what are valuable resources and what are not, what I can adopt to my strategy. And I've taken an iteration is perfection approach to my work. This is a bonus. You can watch this video on Netflix by Vox Explains. It talks about how gamers synthesize information to develop strategy in real time. You can tell that I am enthusiastic about this topic, and so that's something else I hope you can take away today. You know, games have the potential to make work more exciting and engaging, and we need it. Gallup finds that only 34% of the workforce is actively engaged, and the majority of those are millennials. I don't think it's a coincidence. We're the first generation to grow up in a gamer-centric culture. We have seen that video games and virtual worlds have the opportunity to present mind-expanding challenges and present us with a bevy of excited and willing collaborators there to help us tackle ambitious goals. How many of us can say the same about our work? You know, we tell children to get off of video games, but I think we should reconsider and ask ourselves, what are those children learning in games that we could apply to make our workplaces more engaging and our businesses more dynamic and resilient as a result? Thank you.
Thank you, Adrienne. Next up is Tanya Askins with a talk entitled The 5L System for Leadership Development. Tanya serves as the Louisiana District Director of SCORE, a volunteer-driven advisory service for entrepreneurs. Side note, if you are looking for advisory services, please do look up SCORE. They're located right here in our building. Tanya is a visionary small business community leader serving entrepreneurs in startup businesses, marketing, and digital education. Please help me welcome Tanya Askins.
Hello everyone, this is Tonya Askins, better known as the Freedom Teacher. I'd like to share with you the 5L system for leadership development that has helped me along the years. There is a system that basically will help you in every area of life, whether it's for leadership at home as well as leadership in your industry. So let's go through the 5 L's. The first L is to locate who is leading the way within your respective industry. The thought leaders, the change makers, the individuals that will, when you hear them, they will inspire you to do and be better. With the help of technology, you can find them via various avenues today, whether that's through industry conferences, social media platforms, references from others, as well as industry news sources. So, if you want to develop and grow in leadership, you want to do this first L, which is locate them. Secondly, you want to listen to them. Once you locate them, you want to listen to them intently and intentionally. This will posture you with humility and an openness to receive. You should be able to listen to them in various ways today due to technology: books, podcasts, audiobooks, seminars, and most leaders have videos out there that you can listen to them at various times of the day according to your convenience. So, what would you want to do first? You want to locate them, and then you want to listen to them intently and intentionally. The third L, you want to learn from them. Learn all you can from both their successes and mistakes. No one is perfect. Great leaders will share decisions they regret, as well as those principles that help them reach levels of success that they could have only imagined. They didn't get there by accident. Um, they also will do this because they too had to learn from someone at some point or another in their lives as well. The fourth L is to launch into the deep. Once you have located them, once you listen to them intentionally and intently, and you learn from them, it's time to launch. Great leaders will inspire you to stay on pace with the progressive momentum to achieve your dreams. Those beneficial insights and thought patterns should ignite the best in you to go forward and actually do what it is that you have learned. I'd like to ask you a question. What is the last thing you launched? And lastly, but not least, the last L is to let them know. Great leaders would love to know and hear from you about how you've launched things as a result of what they've shared. A simple thank you, a written note stating how they've helped you will demonstrate gratitude and appreciation that they for sure will appreciate. Who was the last leader you sold into or thanked for the help that you have received? I hope that you have been inspired to use this 5L system for leadership development. It can help you in every area of life if you go through the same principles. They all work. Lastly, I'd like to share with you an inspired teaching that I have lived by: be creative, sow, and grow. Be creative about how you go by doing life and business. It is your God given right to be creative. So into purposeful people and projects, including yourself. Don't forget about you, and continuously growing by being a lifelong learner. And this is a quick affirmation for those of you who desire to make a difference. You can say this with me: I will operate in my God given creative ability and be my authentic self. I will sow into purposeful people and projects, including myself. I will continue to grow by being a lifelong learner, demonstrating humility as a community and servant leader. I impact my community for good. This is Tonya Askins, the Freedom Teacher. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. It was great sharing with you.
3, 2.
Thank you, Tanya. To all of our attendees, don't forget that after Lightning Talks are over, we'll be holding a networking session with our Lightning Talkers themselves over in the lounge area. To find the lounge area, it's in that one strip of icons. Click on lounge, and you'll see one that's devoted specifically to the Lightning Talks, and our talkers will be in there. Next up is Chelsea Norris, talking about how telling stories through visual arts. Chelsea is the co-director of Anne Connolly Fine Art and an art professional with over 10 years experience in sales, project management, and creative visual content development. Please help me welcome Chelsea Norris.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Norris. I'm the co-director at Anne Connolly Fine Art here in Baton Rouge. Today, I'm here to talk to you, well, about art. But what we do, I think, is so much more than that. So really, the journey that I want to take you on is how healthcare and corporate environments and hospitality can be enhanced by visual artwork programs. I'd like to start with a great example. This is healing art, really something we've learned so much about in the last 5 years. We had the privilege to work behind the amazing team at Mary Bird Perkins and follow their story of telling a healing journey where they're taking their patients from that journey from illness, hopefully back to wellness. Where we started with that you can see on the screen is the meditation art wall. This is a huge structural glass wall that we worked collaboratively with an artist named Stephen Wilson to do a process called jumeau. This is something unlike anything you've ever seen. It's taking stained glass and turning it on its head. And that's our goal as consultants, is to create programs that give a visual identity to the story of any organization. This journey to wellness can be told in so many ways. We wanted to go outside the realms of two-dimensional art and look at how we could connect to people on a different level, whether that's through scale, like the meditation art wall that you can actually walk behind and have a quiet and peaceful moment, or something like our Journey to Wellness. This is a digital art installation. It has an interactive component. There's a little vessel that's traveling down this waterway. It's holding the little sapling of a tree. That tree eventually finds roots, it plants, and it thrives. And that's just a parallel to the journey that the patients are taking while they're at the cancer center under the care of their amazing staff. So that was a great opportunity for us to do something that had never been done before, something we like to call exactly like nothing else. In this digital artwork program, we collaborated with LSU. We were looking into new technologies. Technology changes very quickly, so when we're creating something that's technology dependent, it's even more important to research and develop ideas that are not only great for a commercial purpose, but serve the purpose of making that meaningful connection through technology. Moving on to hospitality, some of you may recognize this. This is the Watermark Hotel in downtown Baton Rouge. We were really excited to participate in this because it was taking a historic property and turning it into a modern concept Marriott property. So that's where we had to live in two worlds. We had to honor the historic nature of this building being the first skyscraper in Baton Rouge in the 1920s, but elevate it to be a place where you wanted to be seen and you wanted to be. Starting with this picture, we worked with an Italian tattoo artist that we worked with over Skype, slight language barrier, but luckily art is somewhat universal. And in his tattoo artistry, what he does is this kind of reference to Americana. So we were able to work with him to create these huge lenticular pieces that when you walk into the entryway, they have a subtle motion to them. So you walk in and you're immediately engaged with something completely unexpected. The rest of the property included tons of these moments of unexpected treasures and things to investigate, something that makes you want to be a place, be seen in a place. You see the little matchbox saying the Gregory, that's a call out to their restaurant. And then in each room, we had not only international and national artists, but we did a local focus as well to really elevate the culture of the region while still being on a global scale. This is one of my favorite shots. So these are the elevator bays. These are the original elevator cabs from the original property. And we were able to do something that looked like a facade etched out of stone. That's the kind of iconic pelican. This involved 3D scanning, cutting out of foam that's fire resistant. So we're always coming up with a new idea that maybe you look at something and it makes you look again to realize what it actually is. Future-driven philosophy is what we're all about. We're constantly investigating, whether that's traveling to the art fairs in Miami or the Biennale and looking at what's on just a huge global scale and figuring out how to filter that down in our local region. Simon Keff, the artist that you see here, is a great example. Out of Berlin, Germany, we found him on Instagram. So he had been blowing up in Europe. He had worked at the Urban Outfitters headquarters, and we recognized his talent, but not only that, his authenticity. Then we're looking into the natural world. So we're kind of focusing on larger themes here. We go again back into hospitality for this great Renaissance property here in Baton Rouge. These are acrylic birds that go and suspend through the atrium. These are mimicking the shape of the Oxbow Lake, something we totally know and recognize here. So again, taking that big reach of using sculpture and installation and trickling it down to something that's very personal for our kind of local ecology and local region. Here's a great picture of it where they suspend into the atrium. And the technological side of this artistry is that the artist was using really early concepts in 3D printing. So these birds were being 3D printed, then had some hand artistry applied, and then were hung in that position. And that's what makes the real big impact when you walk in. It's the first thing you see when you walk through the door, and it makes an instant statement. We love creating a narrative surrounding the human resources, the marketing, and the internal culture of a company. That's so important, as we all know, but how do we tell that story? For this particular project, working with Albemarle, we were able to partner with a Canadian artist and do something that was on a play of their mission statement, where we have their mission statement kind of in their space where they all see it, but maybe they don't really take time to look at it. So we decided, let's make it an art installation. Let's call it not just words. Let's live the mission. Another way we're doing that is with a project we called the Art Cloud, the word cloud. So this cloud is all about not only that internal messaging from the company, but we polled people at the actual workplace, about 150 individuals, gave them a questionnaire, gave them the opportunity to answer with questions that were lighthearted, funny, and then also really serious and thoughtful. And those questions went into creating this huge 12-foot suspended laser-cut aluminum installation. As you look closer at it, you can really start to see the words and phrases that are popping through. This is how we connect people to their company culture, how they take ownership, become ambassadors of this artwork. Inclusivity is a big part of telling that story. And the word cloud was just a great way to do it. We felt like it uplifted this particular company's values, which was the goal that they set with the artwork program. Another way that we're telling that story is through imagery. This is cast glass. So this was an artist we were working with where he's pouring molten glass into a surface that has an image imprinted on it. This again is telling a story of past, present, and future with each tier. So this was all about a company who kind of started off in one industry and is progressing into another. And this is how we told it. Working with an artist on the very early stages of this design process. It ultimately took a year, but it's the collaboration, it's the information exchange, it's the synthesizing of ideas from our corporate partners, and that turns into artistry that becomes meaningful and creates a connection for a visitor or a member of the organization. What we're looking at now, kind of our trending now, we're really excited about neon. There are very few neon artists out there. We happen to know one of them, and he happens to be in New Orleans, Nate Schaefer, and he's doing things with neon that really excite us, things that are engaging. We're also looking at high craft. High craft is anything from fiber arts to textile to manipulated imagery, sometimes even photography. But Jen Pak, who's one of our artists, is someone we're really excited about. She's a Korean-American artist creating dimensional sculpture. And again, this creates that sense of look again. And that's what we're trying to do, to get people to stop and to absorb something, to be in an environment that they feel is catered to them. And on any level, that proves to be effective. We're always so proud of what artwork does in a public space because it really transforms the way we inhabit that space. So our team at Ann Connolly Fine Art, with an accumulated over 50 years of experience, we feel so privileged to work for these incredible companies. We learn something every day, and we hope to continue doing that, and we hope to help you in the future.
Thank you, Chelsea. Next up is Mary Ellen Slater with a talk entitled In Defense of Liberal Arts in the Age of AI. Mary Ellen is the founder and CEO of RepCap, a content marketing firm, a business-to-business content development agency that helps curious content marketers through strategic consulting, execution, training, and community support. Please help me welcome Mary Ellen Slater.
By AI and automation in the next 10 years, right? And so these aren't just, what we would call like crappy jobs. These are the jobs that we were told to go get because these were the practical majors, right? Things like, office jobs, things like transportation, truck driving, construction, healthcare. They're already coming for these good jobs. Radiology, who ever thought that going to med school could turn out to be a bad play? So even the best paid doctors in the world will not be immune from the shocks coming to our economy. Like I said, these were supposed to be the practical trades and professions. These were the serious, responsible degrees. You know, that's what Mike Rowe kept telling us, right? That's what Mike Rowe says. Well, Mike Rowe was wrong. Okay, it turns out that those frivolous liberal arts degrees are actually the ones that pay off in the future. You know, we think that everybody that majors in liberal arts is supposed to wind up working at Starbucks, but you know what? Joke's on you, because they have awesome health insurance. So here we are. Our practical careers are vanishing. The half-life of our technical skills has shrunk down to 5 years at best. Some professions it's more like 18 months. My daughters are likely to have jobs that don't even exist now. The people who will thrive in the fourth industrial revolution are the ones that have what we call transferable skills. Those are the very skills you acquire by studying the liberal arts. And as our machines grow more powerful, the humans that are overseeing them are going to need better judgment and discernment than ever before. Without it, there's a strong chance that we'll use the power of those machines to destroy ourselves and the planet. So this isn't some far out future. The World Economic Forum has been tracking this. You know, they've come up and they've asked employers, what are the most important skills to have? And they came up with things like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence. You know, the IO psychologists at Aon have come up with similar research. So let's talk about liberal arts and these skills. So let's talk about creativity. In a world where most repetitive tasks will be performed by machines, the most valuable thing that you can do is to do something that hasn't been done before. We call that an artist. You know, what about critical thinking? Our friends over in the philosophy department are really good at that. And in fact, did you know that even now philosophy majors have the 4th highest average wages just a few years out of college? It's like $81,000 a year. So on to emotional intelligence. This is where our literature majors go on to shine. If your job involves authentically connecting with another human being, like, you are unlikely to be replaced by a robot. Finally, if you're looking for people that are trained in the art of shrewd decision making, reach out to the poli-sci grads. They've been studying game theory since way before it was cool. Need a charismatic data whiz on your team? Talk to psychology and sociology grads. They know their way around SAS, and they can spin those numbers into a compelling narrative. For learnability, go by the foreign language department, right? It turns out that learning new languages, the skills that you learn in doing that are fantastic in this new economy. The discipline of thinking and communicating in another language, it opens up your heart and your mind, and you become more, you know, just receptive to the kind of innovative thinking that we need. Now, as the pace of change accelerates, agility will become an even more important skill. That's where those theater kids can really kick ass. Finally, all of the liberal arts majors, they all cultivate curiosity, but perhaps none as much as anthropology. As a digital marketing agency owner, anthropologists are my favorite hires. They come in, they ask good questions. They already know how to question, like, the fundamental assumptions that drive our decisions. All right, although, like I said, I love anthropology majors, I have a confession to make. I don't have a liberal arts degree. My bachelor's is in agronomy, which is soil science. But I minored in religious studies, which it turns out I use every single day in my work as a digital marketer. Because y'all, they definitely don't have any use for me out in the fields anymore.
Mary Ellen, thank you so much. Next up is Courtney Scott, sharing a vision for Baton Rouge to be a community of peace, prosperity, and progress for all residents. Courtney is currently the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer for the City Parish of Baton Rouge and has been involved in developing strategic city initiatives focused on increasing volunteerism, community engagement, and new partnerships with businesses, organizations, and philanthropic leaders. Please help me welcome Courtney Scott.
Hello, my name is Courtney Scott, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer in the Office of Mayor President Sharon Weston Brome. In my work, I oversee the Office of Community Development. When you think about community development, there's a thought that you think wellness, you think holistic options, and you also think of a strong quality of place and quality of life. In order to achieve those things, everyone must have equitable opportunities at achieving their goals. One of the biggest things that I do every day is to mitigate risk and to build resilience in our community. But there are things that we have to experience every day that detract from building resilience. And one of those things is violence. In the United States, there's been an uptick in violence. And this trend is not exclusive to just Baton Rouge. In 2020, we've seen major increases due to the coronavirus pandemic. There have been a lot of things that coronavirus has hyper-exposed and brought awareness to in our community. But when you think of those two things, you don't think that the same approach could potentially cure both. Yes, I am saying that violence can be cured. So let's take a look. Let's imagine a safe, hopeful, and healthy Baton Rouge. We're going to talk about the approach to curing violence through the public health lens. Curing versus containing is a serious thing to think about. When you cure something, you're relieving all things connected to it. You're getting down to the root cause. In a TED Talk in the early 2000s, Dr. Gary Slukin talked about addressing violence as a public health epidemic. For about 10 years, he had spent time in Africa curing and working through epidemics: tuberculosis, AIDS, and yes, we are comparing violence to those things. After being away for 10 years, he decided that he wanted to come back to the US. So he started to do research on where he would lend his expertise and landed on violence. After much criticism, he had 3 key points that showed that violence could be cured using the same tactics the health communities use. That is, interrupting the transmission, preventing further spread, and shifting the norms. So first, let's talk about violence and epidemics and the similarities that are there. Violence is complex, and it requires a comprehensive approach. Just like you look at a continuum of care, you need to look at a continuum of care when you want to address violence and the root causes of it. Preventing violence also requires a very integrated approach. And then also, risk and resilience factors must be addressed. So when I talked earlier about the work that I do, I talked about mitigating those risks. How do you decrease the things that detract from success? And then you want to build resilience. What do you add to the table? What do you add to the fabric of a community to continue to make it great? These are all factors that we will look at in building a safe, hopeful, healthy Baton Rouge. But again, it all goes back to those 3 points: interrupting the transmission, preventing further spread, and shifting the norms. When we look at interrupting the transmission of violence, we look at the headlines, we look at the stories that we see every single day. And we knew that we had to build a community street team. Violence interrupters is what you'll call them. Similar to creating a level of workers that respond to a medical crisis, these are folks that will respond to a public safety crisis. You want to make sure that they can build relationships with the victim, because we want to make sure that we can hit it on the head to prevent it from spreading again. What will violence interrupters do in the Baton Rouge community? These are folks that are of the community, that have unique lived experiences. They're trusted. They are credible messengers. And those credible messengers will respond to situations just like law enforcement. They will take that information and they'll bring it back to the community to look at what needs to happen. How do we prevent a second incident, a third incident? Because one thing that we know true about violence, very similar to the health industry, is that one incident can catalyze many others. Super spreaders. Violence interrupters are set to make sure that we mitigate the risk in violence by being a key part of the community, a trusted part of the community that not only offers ways to stop the next situation, but they get to the root cause. Are there robberies because there's some economic factors there? Jobs, education, resources. They will connect those dots to build resilience in that individual. Additionally, do people need counseling? Is there trauma? We all know that that trusted source in your life can be just the connection that you need to get you to something that you're unaware of even existed for you. That's the role of violence interrupters in this fabric of building a safe, hopeful, and healthy community. Additionally, we want to make sure that we prevent that further spread. That's the outreach worker. An outreach worker is just what the word says. We're here to reach out and provide support. Whether it be in schools, where young people have lived experiences that no one understands. Their teacher is building them for academic success. Their principal is maintaining the school environment. So who do they talk to just share, to build, to open up? It's that outreach worker within their school that, again, builds that trusted relationship that can share incidents before they happen. The symptoms of violence, fights, bullying, beef. Those are things that we want to mitigate before it turns into a violent situation. That's how you start to prevent the spread. You have to go up front. Those strong prevention strategies that everyone needs. They'll also be trained to be in the thick of it, targeting those who are at the most increased risk. And then lastly, we all need to heal from things that we experience. And they'll be able to help deal with the consequences of violence after it occurs to reduce the chance of it recurring again. And then lastly, we have to shift the norm. Similar to what we see with coronavirus, we now wear masks, we're sanitizing our hands, we're remaining socially distant. The norms will shift, and when it comes to violence, there are shifts that have to happen there as well. We want a community of peace, prosperity, and progress. And in order to do that, we have to remodel community engagement. We have to catalyze greater understanding amongst people to understand that violence is not something that just happens by chance. It's a learned behavior that with the right care can certainly be changed. That's where the public education comes into place. That's where the strong culture of positive relationships that everyone is not fortunate enough to have. As a community, when we want to see things better, we all have to engage in that transformation. And it starts with those trusted relationships, credible messengers, and outreach to build the necessary pieces to build a whole community. It's about collaboration, it's about trust and transparency. So even though violence may not seem to be in our own backyard, we all have a responsibility to bring our entire community to an A grade. So we hope that you join us in building this safe, hopeful, and healthy community and looking at violence not as an act, but as a public health epidemic that, if not cured, will continue to plague our community.
Thank you, Courtney. Wise words. So we have one more lightning talk, after which we'll convene in one of the lounges here on the platform to discuss with all of our lightning talkers and each other some of the exciting ideas their talks inspired. Our final lightning talker is Jim Boitnott. This past year has been rough on everyone, including arts and culture. Jim will talk about creating technology that allows creatives to adapt and continue to progress as things are changing all around them. Jim is the Chief Operating Officer at PreSonus and is also a talented musician and accomplished technologist. Please help me welcome Jim Boitnott.
Hi, I'm Jim Boitnott. I'm the COO of PreSonus Audio Electronics. We create audio solutions to help people reach their creative goals. Today I want to talk a little bit about innovation and how we do it and how we continue to do it. And for us, it's understanding the difference sometimes between innovation and invention. Invention, from a definition standpoint, means something brand new, never been done before. And innovation usually means improving on something, creating something that makes a technology or a process better. And one of the issues that we all have is, we're all looking to build that next rocket ship to the moon. And sometimes the most obvious innovations are the best. Yes, I would love to have music on my iPhone. To do that, sometimes we have to adapt the way we think, adapt the way we see our market, and adapt how we run our business. For us, for me at least too, is I look at innovation as solutions. How can we solve a problem? How can we make things better? What do our customers need? And then build the innovation from there. Even 2019, we changed our mission statement from being a company that was 25 years focused on musicians and music products for them to being more innovative, to having solutions to help people reach their creative goals from home to studio to stage for everybody. We started seeing our products were addressing more than just musicians. There are a lot of new type of technologies out there, a new type of customers out there, and we wanted to address all of it. A perfect example was the Revelator microphone that we released this year. Microphones have been out for a century, and there's been thousands of them. And the science behind a microphone is a microphone. And with our current customer base, the new customers especially, they were needing something a little different than our traditional musician customers. We watched their workflow. We watched how they went about their projects. And we said, why not put the science in the microphone? Let's put DSP in there, and let's add the ability for them to change their voice at the press of a button, loopback technology for their Zoom calls or podcasts within the microphone as well, making it easier for them just to connect to their computer and take away all of the noise in their process. That helps them quite a bit. Another example is in the higher professional audio world. Big installations, big concerts. There's two types of protocols for audio and video over Ethernet, AVB and Dante. Think about it like Mac and PC. Two powerful platforms, but usually the products on them sometimes don't talk to each other, usually not at all. But there are customers who want to connect something that's on the AVB platform to the Dante. Okay, well, let's make a black box that allows someone to plug in an audio mixer and then connect it to a Dante product. It opens that connectivity up. And it can be done on platforms as well. PreSonus has tons of software products. And with the success of subscription platforms like Disney Plus and Netflix, it's a good business model. But you want to do something more with it. And we wanted to do something more with it than just a subscription service. So we created PreSonus Sphere, which is a community, a membership portal that allows for more. We have constant training, and we build this exclusive content for them. We have live streams and special events. The customers can collaborate with people all over the world and get comments and work back and forth on projects. And then it's just tons of tools coming to them all the time that they can use for their creative goals. For us, it's about adapting and connecting our customers and our products and giving more access to our customers and our products. And I would recommend watch the creatives. Perfect example is like a songwriter. You can watch the songwriter, or you can just listen to the song at the end. it's more important to watch the process of that songwriter. Where do they run into issues? Where do they have problems? Focus in on that and see if you can fix that for them. Make their process better, more efficient, and faster. Those are obvious type of things that can change the way the outcome of a project actually happens. And it's definitely something we focus on quite often. And you have to understand, where have we been? Where's that technology been before? So before you tackle that innovation or solving that problem, take a minute to understand how it got there. What is the history there? Because it'll give you better insight to obstacles that have happened before. And then once you know it, you create that solution and you move forward with it. The idea is just keep creating, keep writing those songs, keep solving those problems, because the smallest innovations sometimes are the most important. And sometimes you don't see it clearly until you're into it. But if you don't ever start the process, if you don't ever start innovating, you sometimes will hit dead ends. I hope that helps. Keep innovating. Keep thinking of solutions for your customers and for your business.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you to all of our lightning talkers. So now it's your turn. We're going to head over to the lounge area and join in the exciting discussions about the ideas shared this afternoon. It's a video chat, so do be prepared to go on screen. To join one of those lounges, once you're in the lounge section, you'll see what looks like a little drawing of a conference table with little chairs around it. You'll click on one of those chairs, and that will be your seat at the table, and you will enter a video chat with the other people that are in the room. So a few reminders about this particular event platform. Do be sure to look at the top of your of the window, because there is a little red dot there to show that you may have messages, you may have announcements, you may even have people trying to meet with you. And if you're not reading your messages, you're going to miss out. There's some great people that are sending some meeting messages, and they've been asking me, hey, am I doing it right? And I think it's just that you are not actually checking your messages. So y'all go look for that little red dot and go and respond to some of those meeting requests. Some other features of the website is to go to the next session. You'll always have to exit this session and then go back to your agenda. And remember, as you register for sessions, it builds your personal calendar. This also lets you put it on your calendar, so in case you're trying to weave in attendance at BREW with your own work life and running your own business, it'll remind you of the sessions that are just can't miss for you. So I do want you to, after you've done the networking over the lounge, be sure that you've registered for the final 2 sessions of our day. We'll have a roundtable discussion about growth with Abe Mankara and a stellar lineup of growth entrepreneurs, followed by our keynote for today with Savitra Wilson. Thank you again to our sponsors, Lucid, Resilia, High Fidelity, Stone Pigman, Baton Rouge Business Report, as well as our event partners and production crew, JCW, RepCap, Arts Council, and Theater Baton Rouge, and all of our other sponsors and donors.